What's up guys? So today I just want to do a quick video about warding in Conquest. So there's been quite a few people wondering how to ward, what the best places to ward are, and why they're the best places to ward. So I just thought I'd make this wee video just explaining all that, and yeah, hopefully it just helps out a couple people. So we'll start over on the dual lane, and before I do, this isn't like the end all be all of warding. There will be some people who disagree with me, but I've been playing for 4,000 hours nearly now, so I've got a pretty good understanding of it, so this is going to help. So for the dual lane, obviously at the start of the game you'll only have your relic ward. A couple good places to put it are just in between these two rocks. That'll cover both the top side and below these rocks for any jungler coming through. And the other good place to have it is just on the far side of this rock and on the Gold Fury. So you'll see that's covering most of this entrance near the Gold Fury and any entrance from mid. Chances are that if the middle jungle is rotating early, if they're pushing up that far, your middle jungle will be calling it, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But having this one up here just means you're covered from the jungler, most commonly coming from red, and just coming straight over to your lane. That just saves you that hassle. As you go through the game, you basically want to adjust your warding appropriately. Most of the time I find this ward here and this ward here are your best two options. So what that's doing is jungler can't come in through here, jungler can't come in through here, so the only way that the jungler can get to your lane is if they come straight down the lane, or if they push up past your red buff, and then if you just have another ward, like I said, down here, there's no way for your jungler to get to you without pathing all the way down to your red, or by coming down the lane. Quick thing to note about these wards, this one just here I've actually not done quite right. If you look at the minimap, there's a small bit just on this corner where the enemy could actually walk past and I wouldn't see them, so actually the ward should be slightly lower just here, and that covers all of the area now, and there's no little gap on the minimap there. It's really common and it doesn't matter most of the time, but you do see sometimes, especially on reds, if there's a ward slightly too far up here, the enemy can actually walk past and come and invade your red while you're on it, and you won't know about it. So just a little thing, but it's worth noting. So I'm just going to take a quick back, we'll get some more wards. So for the mid lane, hopefully you'll have your support or carry warding most of the duo-side jungle. If your carry doesn't have a low ward, you can put one down here on this corner for them, just to give them a hand with that, and if they're pressuring your red especially, it's a really useful ward to have. Other ones that are worth considering are just on the solo side of the map down here. If you put it on this side of the rock, it means that the solo lane can't rotate without you know about it. It's pretty last minute information you're getting, but it's enough that you can usually run into left jungle at least. And the other one, you either want up on this corner here, just to cover the high rotations, or ideally on the back camp. So the back camp board is telling you a lot because the junglers are always hanging about here, and it's telling you if that back camp's up so you can invade it, and also if they're going to blue buff from there, are they going to mid from there, going for the mid camps. You get a lot of information just from that one ward, so it's really valuable. The other ones for solo lane, little ward here next to the enemy, what is this called, a Naga now? I think it's called a Naga. And if you just put that ward there, it covers you from knowing if the jungle's coming in high. And again, just on the lower side of FG, put it down there. And that's covering pretty much every rotation. You can have it a bit closer down here, which covers slightly more, but you do lose a bit of vision around FG bit. It's up to yourself. It's a pretty minor change, but you can choose yourself. So yeah, that's mostly all of those wards. Other thing I wanted to show was for sieging. So when you are, we'll go for defending on a siege first. What you see a lot of people do is they'll put a sentry down right here. If you're defending, it's not usually worth doing this, because you can almost guarantee the enemy team will put a sentry here because they know that you're going to have a ward there, because it's a really good place to get information. What you should do instead, put it slightly to the side over here, and then you get another one, put it slightly to the other side over here. If they sentry here, it's not catching either of those wards, and it's basically giving you the same information of, is there anyone in this little area? You don't know if they back up at all, that's the only issue with it, but it's much better than just wasting a ward and the enemy getting money for it from their sentry. Just grab some more wards. And the other valuable one is just here. This one you should sentry, because if you are sieging, you'll come up to this door, chuck a ward over it. So if you're on the defending team, just make sure you've got a sentry down here, and it'll just grab that ward, and you're taking the information away from the enemy. Again, on sieging, just have a sentry ward here to try and deny as much as possible. I recommend doing it slightly to the side, because like I said, that'll hopefully catch one of these two wards, which are better wards to have, I think. And yeah, that's about it for sieging. We'll just, I don't know what's down to her. We'll head up to the Gold Fury first. So when you're doing objectives, you really need to have ward vision about to make sure enemies not going to be stealing it. But like I said before, these two duo wards are still going to suit this perfectly. So on that corner and on the enemy obelisk is giving you the most amount of information from two wards. Only other place you need to worry about is up this side, either a ward just high or just low depending. Other thing worth noting is, when you're doing Gold Fury, if this minion wave isn't pushed, and you have time to push it, just make sure you push it first, because as we push up, I'll show you. If that minion wave is up here, and up at the tower line, I know that no enemy is walking in here. So I'm instantly given that information before I even put a ward down. So yeah, it just means you don't need to put that extra ward down most of the time. And then for Fire Giant, pretty similar story, just on these corners. One on the mid entrance, one up here. And that's covering pretty much all of the enemy jungle entrance options. Only other one is just here. But again, if you have this minion wave pushed up, you don't need to worry as much about this one. There's still a path from the blue buff, but you should have your solo or jungle zoning, and they should be calling out the more obvious enemy invades on the Fire Giant. Final thing, when you are doing Fire Giant, and I see this all the time, all you have to do is sentry here. The amount of people that I see sentrying here is horrendous, because this sentry, if you look at the corners of the FG pit, doesn't actually cover all of the Fire Giant pit. So you're not actually giving yourself all the information. They could have a ward on it and still see the FG health bar and all your health bars. So just push it slightly further into the FG and it covers all the options, and then you don't need to worry about it. Easy as that. Just don't do it. I see too many people doing it, and it's just not even worth the sentry at that point. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're doing FG. Hope that's been useful. If you've got any questions or anything, let me know in the comments, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.